Oh, the beauty of multiple screens. Oh.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All right, we are live on YouTube and live on Zoom. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our summer 2021 K-12 Teaching Academy. We'll get started in just a moment. In the meantime, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat if you'd like to. Let us know who you are, where you're joining from today. Just make sure you select all panelists and attendees instead of all panelists. That way everyone can see what you're adding to the chat. Hey, Cynthia, thanks for joining us today. Hey, Mari. Armin and Juan joining us today. Awesome. Kevin, Su Ting, and Denise. Good morning, everyone. Oh, the chat's starting to get going. I can't keep up anymore. All right, well, I think we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome again to our summer 2021 K-12 Teaching Academy. My name is Brian. I work in the Conneaut College of Education at San Jose State University. I'm just here to get you oriented to today's webinar and let you know that we are recording this webinar, and the plan is to add the recording to our K-12 Teaching Academy webpage, the same webpage that you registered at beforehand. Captions are available in this webinar, and they'll be available in the recording as well. Those of you who are attending today, your audio and video are turned off, so we're not able to see you, but definitely make sure that you utilize the chat to communicate with one another and communicate with our presenters today. And then also feel free to join our Facebook group or our LinkedIn group if you want to continue connecting with one another after today's webinars and sharing ideas and resources with one another. I'll include the links to each of those in the chat in just a moment. But first, want to just give you a little bit of background into our K-12 Teaching Academy. So we established this academy last summer, initially as a resource as we were all moving into kind of a more virtual and remote teaching and learning and working environment to make sure that we were providing supports and resources for our teaching candidates, for teachers out in the field, to be able to really think about how we can engage students in an online and remote environment. And we all know we had the experience together in our own way over this past year. So we had some additional webinars kind of at the midpoint through the year, just to provide some additional resources as well. But now for this summer, lost my spot there. Here we go. Our summer 2021 series will focus on returning to what could be a new normal in the classrooms, as many of us are returning to in-person or some form of in-person and hybrid or something like that. So kind of switching up the topics this time around, instead of looking at how to utilize online tools, thinking about different topics now, such as rebuilding classroom communities, restorative routines, anti-racist teaching, student voice and choice, new learning priorities, etc. So that's really kind of the overarching theme for this series over the next couple of weeks. So we're really excited for it and excited for you to be here with us today. So now I'm going to pass it off to our moderator, Rebecca Messina, who will introduce our presenters.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brian, and welcome everyone. We are excited to get started this morning. So we have two amazing presenters with us today. We have Raphael and Jess. And Rodriguez and Simpson. Here I am getting the jitters for our first presentation here today. And they are here from the Santa Clara County of Education, Office of Education. And we are really excited to see what they have to start. And what a better way to start off our online academy than talking about welcoming students back into the classroom. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to our presenters this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our presentation. Oh, I'm highlighted. Okay. We're going to talk about warm welcomes and welcoming students into your classroom as we get ready to go back to in-person learning. I'm going to share my screen. Or, yeah, I'll share it. I was thinking maybe Raphael should, since he's a better screen sharer, but I think I can do it.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
With audio. That's always important. All right, there we go. So again, welcome and good morning. We are positive behavior intervention supports as specialists at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And we're going to start with a little welcoming activity for you. At the bottom of our emails and at the bottom of our presentation, you can see we have 5 strengths listed at the bottom. So these strengths are a part of a Clifton Strengths test done by Gallup, and each person who works at the Santa Clara County Office of Education does this little personality test. It's like a Myers-Briggs test or any kind of personalities test, and you get 5 strengths. Everybody has all of these qualities within themselves, and your top 5 are the ones that you have or display or use the most throughout your day. So mine are input, connectedness, command, communication, and restorative. What we did was we put together a superhero persona based on our top 5 strengths. So my superpower is I am a keeper and disseminator of useless and not so useless information. I use my love for reading, collecting memories and experiences, and learning from others to spread knowledge. What you can count on me for is answering questions, knowing where to help you find an answer, and finding answers for you. I love a good research project or internet stock. So I took my input persona and really kind of dug into what does that mean? And if you look in the top right-hand corner, that is a picture of my superhero persona. And it says, I'm hoarding my knowledge in case I ever need it. And Raphael, can you introduce us to your superhero persona?
Yes, why hello there. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. My name is Rafael Rodriguez. I'm the other PBI specialist at Santa Clara County Office of Ed. And often in our meetings, I focus on individualization and empathy because those are the top 2. But for this activity, I decided to choose another one and kind of delve into that. And I chose developer. And the concept of developer, and you can see I'm 80s kid, it really has to do around bringing teams together. So being able to communicate well with others, building on their strengths to make the team as a whole stronger. And, it revolves around being a sounding board or offering advice. It runs a gambit. Oftentimes I'd have staff and students alike who come into my classroom every day, and it's drains. And so, like all the white hairs that I have, it comes from listening to all of their circumstances and just trying to help build them up, and and it helps me learn as I go. So that's what I bring to the table. Thank you.
So it's important when you have a classroom that you start by building community. You build that trust and that back and forth kind of with your classroom. So we have a community building activity for you. What motivates you in the morning? We have a little poll. We want to know what motivates you in the morning. So if we could launch our poll, is it new day, new you, task, time to accomplish a task, family, children, or loved one, someone needs me, morning, I want to sleep in, coffee or your favorite morning beverage, being one with yourself, exercise or physical activity, or are you like me? Do you pick up your phone and see what happened on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter? Do you go to your Google feed to see what the latest story is? Oh, see, at least one person checks in.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yes.
If my main, so I follow Eric the Hip Hop Preacher. If anybody knows him, ET, TGIM. Thank God it's Monday, and like it's all about let's bring Monday on. Well, let's see. Quite a bit on the coffee action. Oh, now we got the accomplishing a task. We're almost done. We're at 85%. Give it a few more seconds here.
Oh, I see we have
There we go.
Physical activities, exercise people. I root for you. I cheer you on. I want to be you when I grow up.
There you go.
All right.
All righty, that's good. So let's see what we have here. And exercise, yes, I got my spin on this morning. So we have 3 people. We're on the same mindset.
All right. So it looks like most of us wake up and it's time to accomplish a task. So that is wonderful and amazing. I love it. And then coffee. Gotta love coffee. All right. Thank you for participating in our poll with us. We'll have some more for you as we continue. How do we? There we go. Right.
All right, so we're starting it off here with a quote from Coretta Scott King, and basically it revolves around just building one another up. That's the purpose of getting into education. We're here to cultivate the next generation and inspire them to achieve more than what we've ever achieved. And so we move forward here. One more slide. There we go. So the main goal as educators, or because we get stuck on educators and staff and administrators, really when we say those things, we don't want to, sometimes it could be a trigger word. Like to me, it's any adult on campus. We all have the same job. Like, I don't care if we start from the top down to the bottom, we're all adults. Each of us has a role at our site, and it's to uplift students. I, as an educator, my job was to make sure to make contacts with everyone from the crossing guards, custodians, campus supervision, lunch employees. We're all the same, and I could see how they would talk to me that, no, you're a teacher, or you're an assistant principal. No, we're all the same. We're adults. There's no hierarchy in my mindset. You hear conversations that most other staff don't. So and they look to you for support. And the job here, as you can see on this slide, our job is to increase the resilience factors over there on the right-hand side. We want them to build those relationships, build up those social skills, make sure that all their basic needs, and basic is like, that's sad. Like, we want more than that, but there's got to be some bar that we set. We want to increase those as much as possible, as well as then reduce those risk factors, the disruptive behaviors, anxiety, depression, trauma. We're coming out of an extremely traumatic event. It has never happened in history. And of some of these students, we have our kindergartners who are going to be first graders next year. They've never been in a classroom. Some of them have gone. We may have some schools that have gone back in a hybrid format, but there are some who've never yet set foot onto a campus, whether it be their elementary school, their first years of middle school, first year of high school, and then college and beyond. So we have to figure out ways to kind of mediate that along. And so we should have a poll here. So we're taking a look at the California Healthy Kids Survey results. And so there were some general questions that were being asked of 5th graders and then secondary alike, where they were asked, do the teachers and adults at school care about you, listen to what you have to say, or make an effort to get to know you? What percent do you think of students agreed that those humans, those adults are on campus? We can just shoot that into the chat. Give you a couple of seconds. What percent of 5th graders feel that there's someone that they have that cares about them?
We've got 80%. Lots of 80s as 15%, 50%, 20, 50.
Okay. It's a wide range. There you go.
And all right.
Jess, go ahead and
ready for the answer?
Ready for it? I would hope, but same here, Denise.
I would also hope 100.
Yes. Yeah. No, we're 73%. That's I don't know. That's average to me, and average is not where we're at set up for education. Unbelievable. Now, what about secondary? So this is middle school, high school. At my school, here's the question. At my school, there's a teacher or some adult who cares about me, notices me when I'm not there, who listens to me when I have something to say. What do you think?
10, 20, 30s, and 40s. I see a 75.
Okay.
60.
Yep, 30. Wow. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Denise. We're on
Still
board.
hoping for
I know.
100.
I know.
I love it.
So was I. So was I. Go ahead. So if you take a look at that, there were 3 different grade levels: 7th, 9th, and 10th, and that's abysmal. And then we included continuation school. Even worse. The average for those for secondary is 58.5% failing. That is a travesty in itself. We have to find a way to mitigate the disparaging range from elementary. It's starting at 73%, which isn't that great, and then it drops. And I understand there's different adults, but I would think that over time, with more adults, or surrounding more adults with the students as they progress in school, that they would at least find one. And this shows that that's not the case. Well, so, here we go. We have to reduce those risk factors. And, maybe these situations are stemming from behavioral disruptions that occur in the classroom. And so how can we just reduce that? That's our job. So we want to spend more time teaching and less time, handling disruptive behavior. It's important for us to work on making sure that the children are safe, making sure that we are consistent. We start with consistent expectations. The consistency is the key. We can move on over. So if we have our set of expectations, school-wide expectations, we teach them, we reteach them, give them opportunities to succeed or fail. And in education, failure to us, we love it, is a teachable moment. And so we use that teachable moment in order to get them refocused and get them back on track to follow the expectation that we'd like. And we use positive praise, and our part of our job is to teach staff alike about how to praise and acknowledge students for their behavior. All right, moving on. So now we have another activity for you. So why are we developing this system for prompting and monitoring behaviors? We have a question here. Let's go more. Keep on going. So we want to make sure that the academic and social emotional behaviors are developed together. Right now, that the hot topic, right, hot button is SEL everywhere and equity, and so these things should have already been put into best practices. And so when we want to create those procedures and routines. Want to create that structure, set that foundation, and repeat those skills. If you keep going, Jess. A few more, one more, another one. Last one. So here we go. So for you to learn something new, how many times does it need to be repeated on average? We'll think of this as in a poll. We can go ahead and launch that poll. So we have a youth at your school. How many times do you need to repeat something in order for them to get it?
I see in the chat it says 6, 30, 27, 7, 10.
No millions, no thousands. Here we go. Let's see.
Is it Oscar? Are we talking?
Yeah. Jess, go ahead. What do we have? Survey says 8 times. You got to do it 8 times. And so if you as an adult, you're like, well, I already told so-and-so how to do that. Well, did you say it 8 times? You say 2 times, 3? It's still not enough. We have to repeat that. And then, of course, what tone did you use when you repeated it? If you're going to approach someone with negativity, don't sit there and expect positivity in return, right? If you do it in a positive, gentle way, it's easier for them to understand and then give you the feedback you want. And so the next question here, this was good here for about adults, because we know everything.
Which adults? Men or women?
I know, and I'm often considered not an adult. It's okay. I take it with stride. It's a bad.
12, 3, 8.
Going to put Denise on the spot. Let's see. All right. Here we go. So let's see. Survey says
21.
good.
Oh.
All right, 25. If you recall all those infomercials, the 20-day challenge, it's a 3-week process. But so I'm like, I take that and the average has gone up. So 2006, so it's 25 times that we have to repeat something. You know, we have those behaviors and habits. It takes quite some time to retrain your brain to break those habits. And lastly, the last question here is, so how about for my Yoda question here, for you to unlearn that which they have learned and replace it with a new behavior. So they now have to change their behavior. How many times do they have to repeat that process? It's the last one. Our friend here, Harry Wong.
15.
27. All right. Jess, go ahead and
All
reveal
right, let's see. 108.
there we go. Yeah, 108. And there we go. 28 times. So you're right. That goes back to the same average as adults, similar average, where you have that 21-day process, 28 times that we have to do it. So here it's obvious that we do need to repeat ourselves. We need to be consistent. We can't expect, and we should never expect, our children, the youth, to become adults. Last time I checked, for personally, being an adult is overrated. It's oh man, it's a bit much. So why are we pressuring and pushing them to become little adults? They're not. They're little humans. So, all right, Jess.
All right. So I'm sorry, my connection was a little unstable right there. So when we are setting expectations, when we're setting our behavior expectations, and we don't like to call them rules, we're setting norms for behavior. That's what we have in the beginning of our meetings. These are expectations, things that you want to see in your classrooms, in your PLCs, in life. We need to be reasonable, equitable, and realistic. Reasonable, equitable, and realistic. Before we start talking about being reasonable, equitable, and realistic, we're going to do another activity in the chat. We're going to do a water activity. In the chat, listen to the instructions first. In the chat, you're going to type a rule you remember from school that you, as an adult, now think is unreasonable, but don't push enter yet. So you're going to push enter when I say waterfall. So first, I want you to type a rule you remember from school that now as an adult, you find unreasonable. What is a rule from school that you now as a grown-up are like, this is ridiculous? Or you look back and you think, I can't believe they made us do that. I'm gonna give you about 15 more seconds of think time, and then I'm gonna say the magic word and you're gonna push enter at one time, okay? 15 more seconds of think time. Four, three, two, one. Waterfall, go.
All righty. Pay a fine if
Pay
you
a
speak
fine?
in what? Oh, Banshee, we're gonna have to talk to you. That is, whoa. Pay a fine if you speak in your dialect. Stay in your seat the entire time. The
Not
dress code.
use the restroom.
No gum, no hat, no earrings.
No earrings.
You need to write with your right hand only. Oh,
Wow.
My mom would be upset.
So you see, we've all experienced this. We've all had these expectations. So we need to be reasonable, equitable, and realistic. So when we're thinking of setting our behavior expectations, you have to ask yourself, are we setting reasonable expectations? We set ourselves up to be consistent in reinforcing these expectations when it's something that's reasonable. Are they equitable? If we believe expectations are unfair, unteachable, or unreasonable, we will not respond consistently. So if your students realize that this rule is ridiculous, like now that you've typed that rule in there, think about how many times you actually broke that rule. The no chewing gum rule. I went to I went to a Catholic school and we had to keep our shirts tucked in. And if you didn't keep your shirt tucked in, you got detention. I'm sorry, why am I in detention? And if you didn't serve detention, or if you got more than 3 detentions, then you had Saturday school. Okay, now I have to come to school on Saturday because my shirt wasn't tucked in. I thought it was unfair, unteachable, and unreasonable. So guess who had Saturday school like every Saturday? Me, because I'm not coming to your detention because my shirt's not tucked in. That's unrealistic. And then if you can't take the time to explicitly teach the expectation, then it's not an expectation. Are you sure that what you're asking of the students is reasonable and equitable? Now, let's think back to how school was before the pandemic. I know it seems like a long, long, long time ago. There is a rule in class that you cannot eat in class. Many of us have heard that rule. Many of us have had that rule. Many of us have had to enforce that rule. But now you've got kids who've been at home for a year and a half, and you know what they do all day long whenever they want to? I got my little drink. I got some snacks over here. Whenever I want to, I get up and go to the bathroom. I stretch, I move. I am a grown-up and I have a stand-up desk. I can move, I can pick this desk up. You guys are gonna come with me. I can stand up, I can move around. I can do it. I can do all of those things. So now you're gonna expect those students to come back to school and not eat in your classroom. Is this reasonable? Is it equitable? And is it realistic? Think about your students with ADHD, or think about your students who are on medications. Those medications will affect their appetite. I had a student in my class who would go all day without eating because her ADHD medicine made her appetite go away. And then it would be 2 or 3 in the afternoon, right before we're going to go home, and now she's hungry. Would it be reasonable, equitable, or realistic for me to say, no, Sally, you can't have a snack? No, that would have been mean. What about our students who don't have much to eat at home? As an assistant principal, we had a young man at our school who would throw temper tantrums every day about the same time of day, every single day. And he would tear up the classroom. He would pick things up. He would throw things around. Nobody knew what was wrong with Billy until one day Billy came into my office. And I just asked him, because this had been like 2 weeks straight. Billy, what's going on? And he said, Miss Simpson, I'll talk to you, but can I have some of your breakfast bar? Oh, you hungry? Billy is hungry. So then I talked to Billy's mom, and it turns out Billy is one of 8 children, and mom doesn't have a job, and dad just left. The whole family is hungry. So now I've told the teacher, hey, Billy needs to eat a snack. Well, there's no eating in my class. Okay, ma'am, here are your choices. Billy is going to tear up your classroom, or Billy is going to have a snack. Reasonable, equitable, and realistic. We have to find a way to make it work. All right. So defining expectations to teach, guided by your school-wide core values. As Raf mentioned earlier, a lot of us are hearing these buzzwords, this SEL, the equity piece, coming into schools where, I mean, honestly, it should have been. We need to do better, all of us, as educators and as people, being real people to each other. So some of you are going to have things like second step, or move this world, or character counts, or capturing kids' hearts. And that's your SEL curriculum. That's your program. So your expectations need to follow that program so that it's not an added on thing. Specific to your current settings, seek input from students and families. Think about traffic laws. There are some traffic laws, or not even just traffic laws, but laws in general. There are some laws in general that don't make any sense. Like in one of the states that I lived in, it was illegal to walk your pet llama down the street without a leash. Why is this a law? Because, as a law, it means that every so many years, the the representatives have to come and they have to vote on it, and it's taking up time in the representative meetings. A law about a llama, how many people have a pet llama? So we have to seek input from students and families to say, we don't need that rule. We don't, that doesn't make sense for our community and our situation. So seek input. You want to give choice and voice to people, because then it becomes realistic. It becomes equitable. It becomes something that's engaging, and they understand why it's behavior expectation. Your expectations should be positively stated. Walk in the hallways quietly. Walk quietly in the hallways versus don't run. Because when I tell you don't think about pink elephants, what are you doing now? You're thinking of pink elephants. Everybody is, because I said it. So don't do it. No. Think about purple llamas. Walk quietly in the hallways. I have given you in your mind an expectation of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be quiet. You're supposed to walk. Focus on clear, specific behaviors. This is the no eating one. Individual snacks during independent work time versus no eating. I'm not saying you can't eat. I'm saying that if we're doing group work, I'm saying if I'm doing my direct instruction, I'm saying if we're doing some sort of activity that might involve glue or paste, that's probably not the best time to eat. You have your individual snack, not the bag of Takis that you're sharing with Sally across the classroom, and now you've got to get up and you put them in your mouth, and then she put them in your mouth, and then cross-contaminated. We're not sharing. I'm saying you have individual snacks during your independent work time. It's reasonable, it's equitable, it's realistic. So now I have a challenge for you. A chat challenge. Please use the chat box to communicate with the presenter and each other. If you don't, oh, no, the question is, how could you possibly state this expectation? So you see right there, this guy, he's doing something he shouldn't be. Do not take selfies with the fluffy cows. How could we positively state this expectation? Does anybody have any ideas that they can type into the chat box? I know you can do it. How do we positively say, do not take selfies with the fluffy cows? We take selfies with people. Very good, Val.
I see here, respect the privacy of the fluffy cows. Very nice. Fluffy cows are camera shy. Please respect their privacy. Nice. Selfies with friends only. Take selfies with the family. Fluffy cows can watch. Very good. Oh, do not turn your back to a fluffy cow. Interesting spin. Oh, and we lost Jess. All right, we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna pick it up. We got this. So here we go. Let me go, and I will share where she left off. Boom, boom, boom. And we are moving along. Let me go share. Look at this. Just gotta pick up the window. No one needs to see that there's 700 windows open. That's the bane of my existence. Learning how to balance life, where it would be nice if I could find my window.
Absolutely. And some of the ones that are coming through the chat too are face the fluffy cows at all times, which is a nice one.
Okay, full screen. Okay, so moving along, I think you get, let me get this out of the way. Can you see the screen all right? All right, so wonderful. Thank you very much for entering that information. Oh, there's Jess. We got you. I'm moving to the next slide, the SEL framework, but I got to figure out how to like that.
I'm back. I apologize, internet issues. So this is the SEL framework. You may or may not be familiar with this. The link is in the chat. It is an interactive framework. Once you click on that wheel, it gives you examples of what self-awareness looks like in the classroom, what self-awareness looks like in your school, and what self-awareness would look like in your community or with family and caregivers. So it is a wheel that goes over 5 core competencies of social and emotional learning: social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, self-management, and self-awareness. So this is a really, really helpful tool when coming up with your behavior expectations, when thinking through, is it equitable? Is it reasonable? And is it realistic? Next slide, please. So we have specific behaviors and social and emotional skills. So there are specific behaviors that you want to see. If you have a question or a challenge, wait to be acknowledged and present your thoughts to the group or teacher. That's my specific behavior. That's what I would like to see in class. It doesn't say raise your hand, no, or no speaking without raising your hand. It doesn't say any of those things. It's positively stated. It's what I want you to do. That's actually what I want you to do. The social skill, the social and emotional skill linked to it is it demonstrates awareness when help is needed and who can provide it. Use academic language when responding to classmates in class or online. Demonstrate awareness of personal rights and responsibilities. So I connected the behaviors to the social and emotional learning skill. Manage your materials and resources responsibly. For example, keep your parts together, keep them charged, remember passwords, bring pens to class. It demonstrates the skill set to motor, adapt, achieve, and evaluate goals. And all of these can be found in the castle in that link in the framework. All right, the next slide.
All right, there we go. So then we're returning back to the resilience factors. So, right, we're making sure that we begin down here with those healthy interactions, building those strong bonds, building relationships. And as my mother-in-law would say, like, are we building bridges or are we building walls? Like, we want to bridge that gap. And so starting here with those healthy interactions, which will then increase those social skills, open up the lines of communications between students, building those relationships, and it will increase the empathy of students. You know, often, you know, I'm holding up my cell phone, like we're more apt to hold up our phone and record something that's going on rather than step in and solve the problem and try to help others. So we have to, you know, retrain our minds. We want to get involved. We want to interact with one another. This 2D world is not where we're meant to thrive. We're meant to thrive by reading a room, sitting with one another and getting the body language and getting the direct feedback from one another so that we know, where we're going. So how does that work? Like, relationships thrive with that 5-to-1 ratio, 5 positive to 1 negative comment or statement. And there was a study done by Lasada and Heafy. And when I first saw this diagram, I had to go do some more research because I wanted to know what this was all about. And so this study basically was, they took 30 business teams and they studied the questions and the discussions that they had amongst each other, and they divided them into 4 categories, whether they were asking about them for question to help themselves, asking to help their team, other general questions, or if they were advocating for themselves. And so what they noticed is that the higher performing teams, the teams that made the most amount of money, this business model now speaking here, the higher performing teams had a roughly 6-to-1 ratio of positive to negative questions or comments to each other and to others. The teams that reported in the middle range, they had a 2-to-1 ratio, and their questions were more balanced towards asking for themselves and advocating for their team, whereas the higher performing team were very well balanced. And this is the caveat here, that the low performing team, sad, they had an inverse. For every 1 positive, they had a roughly 3 negative statements. So really, they're just focused on themselves. They're driven for, in the silo type of world, as we know, and using comments and statements that weren't weren't very respectful, weren't helpful at all for the team to grow. And so if I can see and make sure that I'm sharing, optimizing sound, boom. Okay, and let's see what Dr. Gottman says about this.
I love this video, by the way. I would just like to say that before you push play, that this is one of my favorite videos ever.
This will then take that same comment, and it doesn't only work at school or in the business world. It also works at home.
Ever wonder why some couples make it and others don't? Scientist Dr. John Gottman did. He spent 40 years studying thousands of couples to find out exactly what separates the relationship masters from the relationship disasters. Shakespeare compared love to a rose. Gottman uses a different metaphor, an emotional bank account. You know how a regular bank account works, so what's an emotional bank account? It represents the positive and negative balance in your relationship. The best couples maintain a high balance. Couples that break up are often in the red. You make deposits through positive interactions, and you withdraw through negative ones. What does a deposit look like? It's a simple act of showing your partner that you care for and support them. It's as easy as sending your partner a good luck text before a meeting or cooking them dinner after a long day. And pay attention when your partner shows you their admiration and support. Notice when they're investing in your relationship.
Thank you.
A withdrawal is either hurtful behavior toward your partner or ignoring their invitations to connect. But withdrawals and deposits don't have equal weight. In fact, Gottman found it takes 5 positive interactions to make up for 1 negative one. Happy couples maintain at least this 5-to-1 ratio. If you make constant deposits and keep your balance high, you're saving up for a rainy day when you'll need to cash in on that goodwill. Gottman notes that small daily deposits, like asking your partner how their day was, is far more important than the occasional over-the-top romantic gesture. Positivity leads to more positivity. This is not about keeping score. It's about investing in your relationship and your shared emotional bank account, moving from me to we. So keep your balance high by doing nice things every day and recognizing when your partner does them for you. You'll build up that emotional bank account in no time.
All righty, wonderful. Let's go ahead and slide.
Love it. All right. So part of building up your emotional bank account is having behavior specific praise statements. So after you have set up your behavior expectations, you want to then give behavior specific praise statements. It identifies and defines both the student and behavior being recognized. So not just the student, not you're doing a great job, not good job, Sally, but Sally, you're doing wonderful at asking other group members and your teacher for help when you need it. And in that way, it's linked to the school-wide expectation. It's described and acknowledged the behavior, and then it identifies the student or the group. And you want to strive for this 5-to-1 ratio that we talked about. Next slide. Positive specific praise is a powerful tool for building a student's self-esteem and positive sense of self. Teachers' new skills and predictions of behavior-specific praise allows for a sense of control and promotes brain development. The recommended ratio to error is even higher for students impacted by trauma due to the predictability it increases. So for example, Sergio, thank you for emailing your questions after the lesson. That was a great example of responsibility.
We'll move this. Yeah, we're going to skip this one. We'll in our breakout session, we can show you some of the videos that we have demonstrating this.
So these are some of the benefits. It helps adults and students focus on positive social behaviors and actions. It is the most powerful behavior change tool teachers have in their repertoire. It increases the likelihood of students will get the recognized behaviors and skills in the future, decreases inappropriate behavior, and therefore reduces the need for correction, and enhances self-esteem and helps build the internal locus of control. Next, please. So for example, a mashup of PBIS and SEL is at the end of the class, students write in the chat a classmate that they would like to recognize or acknowledge, a question they have or something that they are grateful for, a thought about the lesson for the day. This builds both relationship skills and social awareness. So that's one thing that you can do to build that classroom community. Think about the behaviors you would like to see in your classroom. Write a list of specific behaviors and use this list to begin noticing and acknowledging behavior. So this is your homework, lovely, lovely educators. Prior to starting the school year, really think about the behaviors that you want to see in your classroom. Write a list of specific behaviors that will help students, staff, and families continue to progress socially, and use this list to begin noticing and acknowledging behavior. And with that, we're going to talk about fostering community at the door. So another way to foster community is to incorporate your social behavioral instruction and practice into the initial weeks of school. So think about your first couple weeks of welcome. Incorporate identity building, precorrection, both social and behavioral and academic relationship skills with positive greeting at the door intervention. So how are we going to do this?
So, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get it. We're gonna go fast and make sure that I'm sharing properly. Come on. Make sure I have it optimized. Yes, we're good. All right. So I could not record this, so we're going to do this infomercial. Adlib. We got this. Boom. So this is a positive greetings at the door, which is adapted from a study from Edutopia. It may seem like a lifetime ago, but during COVID times, BC, schools were filled with students and staff alike. Those days are returning. Teachers and staff are driven to create positive, successful outcomes in their classrooms, as well as across their site. Unfortunately,
we can't see the video thing.
You can't see the video. No, you can't see the video. I just shared it. It didn't work. Let me see. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, of course. Look at it. Wonderful. All right. So we're skipping. I'll pick up here. All right. So our students we should expect more of ourselves, and we want to make sure like a positive greeting and farewell at the door demonstrates that they matter. That's the point. We want to make sure that they're welcome at their site. So if you take a look, we take a step back and look at homes, buildings, they're just structures. They're nothing really. There's no emotion attached to them at all. It's just an inanimate object. And just like the song says, like a house isn't a home. It's the experience that creates a sense of a home, whether it be positive or negative. And that concept can be easily directed at schools. Each site is simply an inanimate object. They don't possess the ability to influence or create an emotional response. They can't teach, provide intervention, or build positive relationships. They're just there. No, those aspects are provided by the trusting adults at your sites. Like these adults create lasting bonds through nurturing and educating children. These experiences create the sense of what school is and what it's like to each of them. So how can we improve on what we already do? Here are some simple steps. Greet your students at the door by smiling and saying their name. It's a simple task. This validates that you're welcoming them into your place of learning. Next, making eye contact demonstrates that you are directing your full attention on the child. You're being present. Now, don't take it personal if some students don't maintain eye contact due to possible cultural differences or personal feelings. We're all growing and getting to know one another. Friendly nonverbal greetings go a long way. Of course, CDC guidelines may limit some of the ways you can interact with your students, but come on, air high fives, thumbs ups, and long distance fist bumps are very effective. So, now we'll move to sporting events. Like they shouldn't be the only places where we encourage one another. Offering positive words of advice or motivation can turn someone's day around. Besides, come on, we all need a little support from time to time. Lastly, checking in on how a child doing demonstrates that you care about their well-being, regardless of their location. They have a life outside of school, much like us, apparently, even though they think we live there, but that's okay. So these aspects may seem like common sense, but when used regularly, they increase the positive aspects of connectedness and appreciation and significantly reduce negative emotions and outbursts. Hence, more time to teach. That's what we all want. So the best part of all of this is that none of this costs you a dime. Operators aren't standing by, and neither should you. And I clicked the wrong button. Good times. All right. Let me share. So we have these strategies that you can use. We want to increase academic engagement, decreasing what we don't want and improving what we do, improving those relationships. It's basically a routine that you start out at the beginning of your day. Like you want to welcome, just like we had our activity, we want to welcome you to to school. We want to show that we appreciate you and we want you there. So providing those positive interactions, greeting them at the door, saying goodbye, welcoming them into your room. My least favorite, sarcasm concept was, having an open door policy, yet your door is locked. That doesn't make sense to me. A student sitting outside may have gone, I've had multiple students who show up at 6:30 in the morning. I'm pulling up early. They're sitting outside in the rain. Come on inside my room, sit down, you're welcome. I want you to be here. I don't want you to sit outside in the cold. So they are yearning for our attention. They want to interact with us. So why don't we open up our, reach out our hand and bring them in? So there are many ways that this looks like. We can share this video with you when we go into the breakout session, but it's really all about best practices. We like to label things, but it's just being good humans. And sometimes that seems to be hard. It irks me, but we have to be good humans, good to one another. The best, if we demonstrate and model those aspects, they're going to model them back. No.
A couple years ago,
No. So Jess, we go a little bit into the science before.
Yes, Jess is going to talk about science because Jess loves science. Okay, so we're going to quickly go over the science behind this. And why we're going to go over the science behind this is because this sounds like fluff. And had you presented this to me when I first started teaching a million years ago, I would have been like, this is fluffy. I ain't got time. So positive greeting at the door, evaluation of a low-cost, high-yield classroom management strategy. So 90% of middle school teachers strongly agree that the 5-to-1 ratio strategy is reasonable, acceptable, and effective. Students engaged in 12% less disruptive behavior in classrooms using the strategy, saving 7 minutes per hour, 108 hours per year. Students experience 20% more academically engaged. That's 12 minutes per hour, 180 hours per year. That's different. So you are getting more class time back for teaching when you are practicing this strategy. So if being a good human isn't enough, now you're even better teacher, which we all know teachers are superhuman. So now you're a superhuman super teacher. The purpose of the study was to expose the students to these positive greetings. Do they exhibit reductions in behavior issues? And do the teachers find the strategy to be acceptable, appropriate, and feasible? So when they started off this study, these are the questions that they had. The method they used was they picked 10 classrooms in from 2 middle schools, and the middle schools were relatively large. And then it gives you the breakdown of all of how they were diverse and diverse populations. We don't need to know the numbers. Never tell me the statistics. Okay, here we go. So the method was school-wide and individual. And then here are the results. This is just a table of results. What you need to understand is that there was a 20% change. So you can see the decrease in the behaviors you didn't want to see and an increase in the positive behaviors. So why do we greet students at the door? This is a poll.
Yeah, so this comes directly from the dashboard, if I'm not mistaken. And so let's take a look at this.
I've launched the poll.
So how much does your engagement increase by? Just by a simple hello at the door. Give it a few more seconds here. Going. Look at this. We got some people who are on it. Got it. There are no outliers. Very good.
All right.
There we go. And survey. So we'll go end the poll here. And
You want me to end it?
yeah, this looks like about 50%. We're on board. And so there we go. 20% increase. Just from saying, acknowledging a student in the morning, their engagement increased by 20%. Now, what about your disruptions? How much is that reduced by throughout your day? And we can provide you with the data to support this. The data junkies, we know.
I stopped sharing.
That's okay. I see 37%. Okay, there we go. Let me move. 9% reductions. That's awesome. And then the simple act of greeting the door, can gain you how many instructional minutes?
Our poll said 15.
All right. 60 minutes. You get an hour back just by having a positive greeting at the door, welcoming the students. And we all know, I would tell my students in previous years, the time that I spend, working on, redirecting students is, every second that I spend trying to redirect you or as a class, however, there's another class somewhere in the world or even on our site or in our district who's now moved one step ahead of you. So imagine if we're in a race and we're a race to get to the end of the year, we want to understand all these concepts. You're taking your step further and further back. So don't we all want to be on the same ship? And so, okay, then that was before I started learning some strategies. All right, I gotta go greet these kids, make sure they're welcome. And things started turning around. It was wonderful. I loved it. I appreciated it. So let's get that. So, it's going to promote a positive environment. You want that to occur in your classroom. You want your little community. And we'll skip that video. It's really a demonstration of high-fiving and basically goes with the other video that we showed before. There we go. Oh, we did it. That's awesome. So thank you. So we appreciate your time and energy and efforts for joining us. And if you could, there is an evaluation that we have linked to this slide deck. When we go into the breakout session, we'll share some of those other videos so that you can see what it looks like. And it's just basically, if you're not going to be able to attend that, it's waiting at the door and you're giving your fist bumps and high fives and looking at the students. It's really a live demonstration of what that looks like. It seems simple, but it's unfortunate that it doesn't happen. And being as a teacher and an admin, you don't see that so often, and it doesn't have to be over the top crazy with trying to learn a new interaction with every single student like you've seen some other teachers have. You don't need to do that. It's a simple hello, good morning, and acknowledging them. That goes a long way, and the data backs that up. So thank you. Jess, do you have any closing words for us?
I just want to say thank you to everybody, our superhero teachers. Like Raf started off with, we say educators, we don't mean to differentiate. We are the same. We are all doing what's best for kids. And I firmly believe that all of us in education, whether you're a specialist at the county office or a sixth grade English teacher, I was a sixth grade English teacher, we're all doing what's best for kids. We all have the best intentions. So thank you for coming. I know it's the summer and it's super duper early. So I hope to see you in our discussion and we can share some videos and some time to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Rebecca and Brian. Appreciate you having us. Thank you, San Jose State. Whoop, whoop. We're good. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you both so much for today. Your presentation was informative and thought-provoking, and we're really looking forward to the discussion that we're about to transition to. So thank you, attendees, also for the great chat and thoughtful comments in there as well. I know Brian did put in the link for the discussion that we will be doing next. It should also be, if you're a registered attendee, it should also be in your email. Just a quick couple reminders about this question and answer session. It is a normal Zoom meeting, so you will have your microphone turned on if you'd like, and also video accessibility if you choose to have that. So just a quick reminder about that, and the link is in the chat, and Brian just put it in there again. Excellent, and we will look forward to seeing you all there, but thank you so much, Raphael and Jess. We